It is better to keep your mouth closed and let people think you are a fool than to open it and remove all doubt. In the first place, God made idiots. That was for practice. Then he made school boards. All you need in this life is ignorance and confidence, and then success is sure. Suppose you were an idiot, and suppose you were a member of Congress, but I repeat myself. Forgiveness is the fragrance that the violet sheds on the heel that has crushed it. The lack of money is the root of all evil. Never put off till tomorrow what you can do the day after tomorrow. I am an old man and have known a great many troubles, but most of them never happened. Do the right thing. It will gratify some people and astonish the rest. The reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated. My mother had a great deal of trouble with me, but I think she enjoyed it. Clothes make the man. Naked people have little or no influence on society. Never pick a fight with people who buy ink by the barrel. Truth is stranger than fiction, but it is because fiction is obliged to stick to possibilities, truth isn't. The 1st of April is the day we remember what we are the other 364 days of the year. It's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. The secret of getting ahead is getting started. Age is an issue of mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. The fear of death follows from the fear of life. A man who lives fully is prepared to die at any time. Courage is resistance to fear, mastery of fear, not absence of fear. A man who carries a cat by the tail learns something he can learn in no other way. Part of the secret of a success in life is to eat what you like and let the food fight it out inside. I can live for 2 months on a good compliment. The only way to keep your health is to eat what you don't want, drink what you don't like, and do what you'd rather not. The human race has one really effective weapon, and that is laughter. It's no wonder that truth is stranger than fiction. Fiction has to make sense. We have the best government that money can buy. When you fish for love, bait with your heart, not your brain. If you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything. Whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it is time to pause and reflect. Anger is an acid that can do more harm to the vessel in which it is stored than to anything on which it is poured. Patriotism is supporting your country all the time, and your government when it deserves it. You can't depend on your eyes when your imagination is out of focus. Don't let schooling interfere with your education. The best way to cheer yourself up is to try to cheer somebody else up. It ain't those parts of the Bible that I can't understand that bother me, it is the parts that I do understand. Don't go around saying the world owes you a living. The world owes you nothing. It was here first. A man's character may be learned from the adjectives which he habitually uses in conversation. Let us endeavor so to live so that when we come to die even the undertaker will be sorry. God made the idiot for practice, and then he made the school board. Wrinkles should merely indicate where smiles have been. Cauliflower is nothing but cabbage with a college education. Denial ain't just a river in Egypt. It usually takes me more than 3 weeks to prepare a good impromptu speech. The difference between the almost right word and the right word is really a large matter. 'Tis the difference between the lightning bug and the lightning. If it's your job to eat the frog, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. And if it's your job to eat 2 frogs, it's best to eat the biggest one first. Get your facts first, then you can distort them as you please. In the spring, I have counted 136 different kinds of weather inside of 24 hours. By land, they're not making it anymore. Go to heaven for the climate, hell for the company. Good friends, good books and a sleepy conscience, this is the ideal life. Do the thing you fear most and the death of fear is certain. Humor is mankind's greatest blessing. There are lies, damned lies and statistics. There are basically 2 types of people. People who accomplish things, and people who claim to have accomplished things. The first group is less crowded. Golf is a good walk spoiled. Giving up smoking is the easiest thing in the world. I know because I've done it thousands of times. All generalizations are false, including this one. When we remember we are all mad, the mysteries disappear and life stands explained. Don't part with your illusions. When they are gone, you may still exist, but you have ceased to live. But who prays for Satan? Who, in 18 centuries, has had the common humanity to pray for the one sinner that needed it most? Be careful about reading health books. You may die of a misprint. I don't like to commit myself about heaven and hell. You see, I have friends in both places. Life would be infinitely happier if we could only be born at the age of 80 and gradually approach 18. Everything human is pathetic. The secret source of humor itself is not joy but sorrow. There is no humor in heaven. It is by the goodness of God that in our country we have those three unspeakably precious things: freedom of speech, freedom of conscience, and the prudence never to practice either of them. Noise proves nothing. Often a hen who has merely laid an egg cackles as if she laid an asteroid. I came in with Halley's Comet in 1835. It is coming again next year, and I expect to go out with it. It will be the greatest disappointment of my life if I don't go out with Halley's Comet. The Almighty has said, no doubt. Now here are these two unaccountable freaks. They came in together, they must go out together. Everything has its limit. Iron ore cannot be educated into gold. I was seldom able to see an opportunity until it had ceased to be one. Patriot, the person who can holler the loudest without knowing what he is hollering about. When your friends begin to flatter you on how young you look, it's a sure sign you're getting old. Name the greatest of all inventors. Accident. A man is never more truthful than when he acknowledges himself a liar. There is a charm about the forbidden that makes it unspeakably desirable. Facts are stubborn, but statistics are more pliable. The secret source of humor is not joy but sorrow. There is no humor in heaven. If you hold a cat by the tail you learn things you cannot learn any other way. A person who won't read has no advantage over one who can't read. Climate is what we expect, weather is what we get. Under certain circumstances, urgent circumstances, desperate circumstances, profanity provides a relief denied even to prayer. The man who does not read good books has no advantage over the man who cannot read them. Man was made at the end of the week's work, when God was tired. Action speaks louder than words but not nearly as often. Apparently there is nothing that cannot happen today. Work consists of whatever body is obliged to do. Play consists of whatever body is not obliged to do. I was gratified to be able to answer promptly, and I did. I said I didn't know. Lord save us all from old age and broken health and a hope tree that has lost the faculty of putting out blossoms. There is no distinctly American criminal class, except Congress. Grief can take care of itself, but to get the full value of a joy you must have somebody to divide it with. Only one thing is impossible for God, to find any sense in any copyright law on the planet. The right word may be effective, but no word was ever as effective as a rightly timed pause. It were not best that we should all think alike. It is difference of opinion that makes horse races. Few things are harder to put up with than the annoyance of a good example. Be careless in your dress if you must, but keep a tidy soul. The very ink with which history is written is merely fluid prejudice. I never smoke to excess, that is, I smoke in moderation, only one cigar at a time. Honesty is the best policy, when there is money in it. The main difference between a cat and a lion is that a cat only has 9 lives. The more you explain it, the more I don't understand it. Truth is mighty and will prevail. There is nothing wrong with this, except that it ain't so. She was not quite what you would call refined. She was not quite what you would call unrefined. She was the kind of person that keeps a parrot. There is no sadder sight than a young pessimist. Against the assault of laughter, nothing can stand. Thunder is good, thunder is impressive, but it is lightning that does the work. When people do not respect us we are sharply offended, yet in his private heart no man much respects himself. When angry, count to 4, when very angry, swear. It is curious that physical courage should be so common in the world and moral courage so rare. Loyalty to petrified opinion never yet broke a chain or freed a human soul. Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness, and many of our people need it sorely on these accounts. Many a small thing has been made large by the right kind of advertising. Laws control the lesser man. Right conduct controls the greater one. A man cannot be comfortable without his own approval. I didn't attend the funeral, but I sent a nice letter saying I approved of it. Work is a necessary evil to be avoided. Don't say the old lady screamed. Bring her on and let her scream. Man will do many things to get himself loved, He will do all things to get himself envied. My books are like water, those of the great geniuses are wine. Fortunately, everybody drinks water. Training is everything. The peach was once a bitter almond, cauliflower is nothing but cabbage with a college education. A person with a new idea is a crank until the idea succeeds. No sinner is ever saved after the first 20 minutes of a sermon. Civilization is the limitless multiplication of unnecessary necessities. If the world comes to an end, I want to be in Cincinnati. Everything comes there 10 years later. The trouble ain't that there is too many fools, but that the lightning ain't distributed right. The finest clothing made is a person's own skin, but, of course, society demands something more than this. India has 2 million gods and worships them all. In religion, all other countries are paupers, India is the only millionaire. Drag your thoughts away from your troubles. By the ears, by the heels, or any other way you can manage it. Words are only painted fire, a look is the fire itself. It's good sportsmanship to not pick up lost golf balls while they are still rolling. There are times when one would like to hang the whole human race, and finish the farce. Truth is the most valuable thing we have. Let us economize it. It is better to take what does not belong to you than to let it lie around neglected. Often it does seem such a pity that Noah and his party did not miss the boat. I must have a prodigious quantity of mind. It takes me as much as a week sometimes to make it up. I have never taken any exercise, except sleeping and resting, and I never intend to take any. Necessity is the mother of taking chances. Only kings, presidents, editors, and people with tapeworms have the right to use the editorial we. Thousands of geniuses live and die undiscovered, either by themselves or by others. The rule is perfect: in all matters of opinion our adversaries are insane. When red-haired people are above a certain social grade their hair is auburn. Wit is the sudden marriage of ideas which, before their union, were not perceived to have any relation. Education consists mainly of what we have unlearned. Substitute damn every time you're inclined to write very. Your editor will delete it and the writing will be just as it should be. Good breeding consists in concealing how much we think of ourselves and how little we think of the other person. Soap and education are not as sudden as a massacre, but they are more deadly in the long run. To refuse awards is another way of accepting them with more noise than is normal. Prosperity is the best protector of principle. It is my belief that nearly any invented quotation, played with confidence, stands a good chance to deceive. It is just like man's vanity and impertinence to call an animal dumb because it is dumb to his dull perceptions. When I was younger I could remember anything, whether it happened or not. All emotion is involuntary when genuine. Man is the only animal that blushes, or needs to. Sometimes too much to drink is barely enough. Do not tell fish stories where the people know you, but particularly, don't tell them where they know the fish. The human race is a race of cowards, and I am not only marching in that procession but carrying a banner. Let us not be too particular. It is better to have old second-hand diamonds than none at all. Biographies are but the clothes and buttons of the man. The biography of the man himself cannot be written. What is the difference between a taxidermist and a tax collector? The taxidermist takes only your skin. If man could be crossed with the cat it would improve man, but deteriorate the cat. In Huckleberry Finn, I have drawn Tom Blankenship exactly as he was. He was ignorant, unwashed, insufficiently fed, but he had as good a heart as ever any boy had. Familiarity breeds contempt, and children. A round man cannot be expected to fit in a square hole right away. He must have time to modify his shape. We are all alike, on the inside. I never let schooling interfere with my education. Classic. A book which people praise and don't read. Why is it that we rejoice at a birth and grieve at a funeral? It is because we are not the person involved. Loyalty to the nation all the time, loyalty to the government when it deserves it. Alright, then, I'll go to hell. To be good is noble, but to show others how to be good is nobler and no trouble. When in doubt tell the truth. The Christian's Bible is a drug store. Its contents remain the same, but the medical practice changes. The man who is a pessimist before 48 knows too much. If he is an optimist after it, he knows too little. Water, taken in moderation, cannot hurt anybody. There are several good protections against temptation, but the surest is cowardice. By trying we can easily learn to endure adversity. Another man's, I mean. It is better to deserve honors and not have them than to have them and not deserve them. It is easier to stay out than get out. Optimist, daydreamer more elegantly spelled. The public is the only critic whose opinion is worth anything at all. The more things are forbidden, the more popular they become. Optimist, daydreamer more elegantly spelled. Water, taken in moderation, cannot hurt anybody. There are people who can do all fine and heroic things but one, keep from telling their happiness to the unhappy. George Washington, as a boy, was ignorant of the commonest accomplishments of youth. He could not even lie. It put our energies to sleep and made visionaries of us, dreamers and indolent. It is good to begin life poor, it is good to begin life rich, these are wholesome, but to begin it prospectively rich. The man who has not experienced it cannot imagine the curse of it. I must have a prodigious quantity of mind. It takes me as much as a week sometimes to make it up. It was wonderful to find America, but it would have been more wonderful to miss it. He is now rising from affluence to poverty. In Huckleberry Finn, I have drawn Tom Blankenship exactly as he was. He was ignorant, unwashed, insufficiently fed, but he had as good a heart as ever any boy had. The most interesting information comes from children, for they tell all they know and then stop. Fiction is obliged to stick to possibilities. Truth isn't. Martyrdom covers a multitude of sins. Repartee is something we think of 24 hours too late. The public is the only critic whose opinion is worth anything at all. Prosperity is the best protector of principle. The public is merely a multiplied me. Nothing so needs reforming as other people's habits. Let us make a special effort to stop communicating with each other, so we can have some conversation. One of the most striking differences between a cat and a lion is that a cat has only 9 lives. We Americans bear the ark of liberties of the world. Ideally a book would have no order to it, and the reader would have to discover his own. Why shouldn't truth be stranger than fiction? Fiction, after all, has to make sense. What a wee little part of a person's life are his acts and his words. His real life is led in his head, and is known to none but himself. Humor must not professedly teach and it must not professedly preach, but it must do both if it would live forever. We are all alike, on the inside. The educated Southerner has no use for an R, except at the beginning of a word. What, sir, would the people of the earth be without woman? They would be scarce, sir, almighty scarce. How lucky Adam was. He knew when he said a good thing, nobody had said it before. Better a broken promise than none at all. I have been complimented many times and they always embarrass me. I always feel that they have not said enough. Prophesy is a good line of business, but it is full of risks.